Yes, hello everybody. If you're watching us straight from Channel 31, welcome to Full Course Yellow, the in-pit lane after show after party. This is just a get-together we have every Thursday night after the show goes to air on Channel 31 Melbourne and Geelong, just to just basically have a chat about things in general, motorsport and life in general, life, the universe, and everything. So if you're joining us, if you'd like to take part, you can put some questions or comments in on the YouTube chat page on the chat on the side. You can also go on the Facebook page as well. We're on both of those areas as well. And Mad Cow and Mike, a regular on the program. G'day, Mark. Mark. Welcome back to the program. So good to see you back again. And we will talk about all sorts of things. Big weekend up at Sydney Motorsport Park, as you saw on the program tonight. We had Josh Buchan on the program, and what a nice young guy he was. I think I sort of said
spell that.
Spell what?
B, as in caves.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Painesville. Yep.
Yep. So yes, Buchan, Josh Buchan. But he was bucking good on the weekend, I can tell you that. I mean, he was
better than your bucking butter menthol too.
Yeah, he was two wins in the TCR series and a very close second to Mike Caruso as well. So great performance by Josh, and also we saw a new Cam's Gold Star champion being crowned in Josh and Joey Mawson. And Joey will be our guest. Should be our guest next week on the program as well. I'll be hoping to catch up with him sometime in the next couple of days to talk to our new Gold Star champion as well. So, did anybody else watch the weekend? It was a packed program, I tell you what. Anybody else watch it?
Bits of it.
Yeah, it was.
I did watch it. I watched it on replay, but the TCMs threw up a bit of controversy, a bit of fun and games, a bit of panel beating. I think a couple of the guys need, but we'll lay off that subject till later.
Yeah, Bowie wasn't impressed with a bit of the driving by one driver in particular there. So as he said, they're not racing for sheep stations, but.
So someone needs to put their fingers in the till to pay for some panel beating.
The other thing that they're concerned about too is and this is the problem. There were so many races on the weekend. It was great value for money. I mean, it was a stark contrast to what we saw down in Tasmania with the supercars. I mean, where they had sort of about two support categories. I think they had sort of the Aussie race cars and the super trucks, and not big fields in either of them, and then just huge slabs of absolutely nothing happening on the track. Whereas on the weekend there was just race after race after race after race, lots of categories, lots of racing, but unfortunately, it's put a few noses out of joints. I mean, the dreaded egos have got involved, and so some of the TCM people now are sort of saying, well, we're not getting, we've become the poor relations. We should be the stars. I mean, everybody knows that how popular we are, and they're a really popular support category. That's what they are. They're a support category. Love them. Terrific entertainment.
Yep.
As a support category, they are not the main events. S5000, TCR, main event. TCM, not main event.
I was going to say, just remember, we're not saying you should yell and scream and bite and kick, but just remember where your place is. You all need each other. You do. You all maketh each other by being together with each other. You try, and I am bigger than Ben Hur and biggest the moment, you will lose your support, and so people will jump off that candy store wagon.
Yeah, it's not as if they're going
the spice of life. You got to have all the classes to have a good series.
And that was the thing about the ARG on the weekend. It was a damn good. There was plenty of variety. I mean, if you'd have paid money to go and see that on the weekend, you'd have been happy. You'd have walked away and said, "Yeah, I got my money's worth there. That was a good weekend's racing. I enjoyed that." It's like like the State Series or anything like that. You go there, you get 8, 10 categories, racing from dawn till dusk, and on the Friday. That was the strange thing. They qualified and practiced under lights on the Friday, but they didn't do any racing under lights. And if you have a look at some of the footage that came out under lights and some of the photography, some of the shots that were taken, looked brilliant. So I don't know why they. It probably was a television thing, but I would really love to see them. Certainly next year, at least go into the twilight. I mean, imagine this. Imagine the S5000s. Bahrain style. Just as the sun's going down, the last quarter of the race or so, just as we hit the sort of darkness with the lights.
Twilight.
Look fantastic.
Yeah, if you're Lily, you need Marsh, and if you're Michael Jordan, you need the rest of the Bulls team, and also if you're Michael Slater, you need commentary. So in India, but that's just a whole nother COVID situation. Sorry.
I love that, Mike. I like Michael Slater saying he wants to debate Scott Morrison. I think that's sort of talk about the clash of great minds.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. If you're Michael Slater, you need India and you need money. So I mean, Anyway, that's just It's if you're TCMs, you need all the other categories, and if you want motorsport and you want some extravaganza, you need some new ideas and people that are willing to try it. And if you're at a different venue that has different aspects of the facilities that can be given a crack, well then try some stuff on the lights if they're sufficient. So that was good. And the feedback, we didn't actually get to see any ourselves live because it wasn't put on 7 Mate, or unless I'm not sure if it was on KO. If you do, a couple of you guys have got subscriptions, but I heard it was all great feedback on the lights on the Friday.
Yeah, they didn't cover any of the stuff under lights live on either Mate or on. They only covered the Saturday and Sunday, which was a strange thing. I thought. Because they did run fairly late into the day with some of the support categories, because that was the thing. There were so many support categories, and once again, people got their noses out of joint and said, "Well, hang on, we weren't on the television." The sports, the prototypes, and the production cars. I mean, the production cars had at least one of their races because I saw the race on 7 Mate, so they did run, but there were. Yeah, so some of the people did get their nose out of joint, but you can't have everybody. It's one of those things. It's like you try and you try and cover everybody. It's like when we go. Like I had someone today, yesterday, sort of say from Malala. Well, did you? We really loved the show, but did you get Groups Emo and the? No, because I just didn't have time. I mean, didn't have the resources, and even you can't cover everything, and especially if you're in our situation where it's a 1 or 2 person, shoot. As Malala was just me, so it was you've got to take a break at some stage. But yeah, good day, Russell. How are you? Thanks for joining us once again. Our mate Richard Catchlove. Go, Richard. How are you? Yes. Well, let's get on to that because Richard has raised it. So let's get on to it nice and early. Brilliant result by Jack Miller in the Moto GP, and Doc, you'd be happy about that.
Jumping out of my skin, almost lost for words, but I'm not. Magnificent thriller, Miller. Absolutely. What a huge, as you touched on, I think, Brett, and the commentators, everyone up and down pit lane. The guy he was lucky to make it to the podium. The guy shouldn't have got there. Everyone up and down pit lane was trying to stop him and give him a high five and give him a slap on the back. It was just excellent. He worked so hard for it. A one-off thing, and yeah, it all got spilled out. The emotions all was massively spilled out at the end of the thing. Look, no one gave him a real chance. They thought the Ducatis would be a little bit stronger. Thanks, Stuart. They thought that the Ducatis would be slightly stronger than usual. You might want to flick that off.
Yep. Just
Yeah, I know you haven't got any sound, Stuart, but you need to kill. Don't you get? We've been in enough trouble for Twitter for 1 week as it is without getting banned on YouTube. But however, whoops. Hopefully it's worth it. But yeah, absolutely great. He was challenging. He was the only one that was able to take it up to Fabio Quartararo at the start of the race. Pecco Bagnaia was always in the mix there for a podium finish. He was working his way through 5th and 4th and 3rd and so forth. But he just didn't get the start to the season he would have hoped. It all went his way last year, and it was just magnificent to see. The guy can ride. He just hadn't been able to prove it in the dry like he had, because his only other win was a wet race 2 years ago. So and the pictures told the story. Even the commentators, he was just sitting there, just about to break into tears, just sitting in the Parc Ferme after they parked the bikes. And he and Pecco, they hugged, embraced. He jumped the barriers as soon as he got there to catch up the team, which is a big no-no. I'm sure that the officials let him get away with it. It's just almost you can go through every emotion. The only way is to actually jump on an official channel for a replay of the race from the weekend and have a look at it and see how he did it, because he just did not let the Yamaha that was coming in first place get away from him at any stage. He just pressured, rode the pants off the Ducati like any more than he has now. And a big bad luck, sorry to Fabio for his race. Ended up getting arm pumped. It was just pure speculation from everyone watching TV, at the track, commentating. No one, he just completely dropped like a stone with about 6 or 8 laps to go. He completely just dropped all the way down to, I think, about 12th, 13th or something he ended up. And
well, of course, Jack went and had some medical attention for his own arm pump problem, which had affected him and we know that Casey Stoner had massive problems with it over the years. So this was Quartararo really copped it bad, and he just said he just couldn't. By the time the race was over, he could barely hold onto that bike. So he was lucky to finish back where he did. But as you said, it's a real testimony to the sort of guy that that Jack obviously is. I haven't had anything sort of to do with him in terms of having a chance to interview him or anything like that. But you could just, as you say, you could just see, and the commentator said, like the pit lane will empty and everyone will come out of the garages to give, and they did. Just all the opposition teams, officials, everybody, the media, everybody was just so happy for him.
They even mentioned Carl Crutchlow. I think Carl must be in Australia at the present time, because he said Carl and his wife would be absolutely smashing down the walls in congratulations, because he's good mates with Carl. And as he's just everyone along the pit lane, they just came from nowhere, the masses. He's a hugely popular guy. He relates to everyone. He's down to earth. He's straightforward. And it was great to see he got the success that he really needed to be, and the commentators also mentioned that, well, there's been a couple of riders over the years. They only need one really good race to show their hand, to show their cards, lay them out on the table and have a win like that, where that can secure them a contract for next year as well, though, too. And you can see the bosses at Ducati in the pits, just absolutely just jumping up and down, dancing around like they won the whole championship in excitement. So, and then pointing at each other, going, yeah, I told you so. Look what he's won. He's going to win it. And unfortunately, it wasn't the circumstances. But look, if it hadn't been this race and he rode just like he did in this race on last Sunday, just gone over there in Spain, it might have been the next one. So it's going to be hopefully the full of confidence in the enthusiasm that he is now brought to himself, and knows he can, with the self-styled Ducati, that he can take it to the next one. So, and the only unfortunate thing is Valentino didn't ride very well. He's still out of the equation. Yeah. I was talking to a couple of bike friends who I used to ride quite regularly down the Phillip Island with, and and hopefully, it shouldn't tarnish his legacy, but he really needs to pull the pin at the end of this season, go have a nice big farewell this year. And what Valentino can bring to the MotoGP and to the bike community is 10 times more, so much more now at MotoGP rather than being on the bike. He's got his VR46 Academy, and what he can do, I mean, he will get just as much in sponsorship and people wanting to pay him to work in MotoGP now, but not on a bike. So we hope that following he continues it on and still has that will and still has that want to go on and do that for bike racing. And knowing Valentino, he's got more social media followers than Lewis Hamilton has in Formula One. So go Valentino. Keep riding.
And as we've said before with Valentino, I mean, he's still got that 4-wheel option if he wants to take it. I mean, because he's done it, just particularly in rallying. He's done quite well. I mean, he has great affinity for that sort of thing, and a lot of bike guys do make the transition, and a lot of them make it very, very successfully. So, I mean, if he really has that desire to stay, not at the top level, I mean, you still see people say, Valentino in a Ferrari. No, but let's, okay, perhaps not in a Formula One Ferrari, but certainly in a GT3 Ferrari. I mean, imagine the crowd, Valentino Rossi in a GT3 Ferrari at the Bathurst 12-hour. That's going to drag a few people through the gate.
Anyway, it's the first time since 2005 since the Ducatis have become 1-2 as well too. So, but that won't last. I don't think you'll see that for the rest of the season. It's just so many good bikes out there and so many good riders at the moment, and it's like a pea soup in a race on who's going to get top 3 or top 5 or wherever it may be. It's fantastic racing. So, sorry, Formula One, I'm not on your wagon at the moment. I just like the MotoGP. It's great.
And Remy Gardner leading Moto 2 at the moment.
He was one of the ones in the pits. Yep, gave Jack a slap on the back in the pits as he was going past as well, though, too. I mean, I think if Jack had the opportunity, he would have been the Bathurst 12-hour in MotoGP because he wouldn't have got enough time to go around to everyone and thank everyone and hug them and kiss them and backslap them and all that sort of jazz. So anyway, it's not just great for Australia and great for MotoGP and Ducati, etc. Like that. It's great for that guy because he deserved it.
The next round will be interesting. The next round is at Le Mans on the Bugatti circuit. Probably doesn't suit the Ducatis as much as Jerez did, but nonetheless, it certainly suits Jack. Jack has done pretty well in the past at Le Mans, so. And that's if the race goes ahead. I mean, there's still some uncertainty about what might happen at Le Mans because obviously the COVID thing is still pretty hardcore in France at the moment. There's still some doubt that it might go ahead because obviously they've moved the 24-hour back to August. Because of the desperation to get crowds in, because the ACO have said, look, if we can't get a crowd this year, if we've got to do it in front of empty stands, we could be in a lot of financial trouble because we need. They sort of said they need 50,000 people through that gate to make it worth their while. So and to pay the bills.
In comparison, I mean, we had a stadium over in Perth last weekend suddenly get shut down because of the reactions that we have to have here still back in Australia to keep the public safe, even though we are, we're free to do what they want. That just a result was a home game to the West Coast team over there, and they lost $2 million just in all substantial takings, not just from the gate, from sponsorship, from obviously catering, etc. So it trickles out. So I'm sure an AFL team can move on from it, but it needs a success of it needs the people to come along. And the old saying there is. You need. We can run sport without spectators. No, you can't.
Yeah, although as we've said before, I mean, motor racing is not as badly affected as a sport like football or cricket or something like that. I mean, the IPL, I really didn't take much notice of the IPL at all, simply because of the fact that because of the situation there, I really thought it just felt wrong. Even the fact that they were running it, they've suspended the play now, thank God. But I mean if the thing that they had is they had like the fake crowd noise with it, and it was so annoying to sit there. It was, it was like, it just looked and sounded ridiculous. These huge roars going up in the crowd, and then they take you to go to the wide shot, and the stands are completely empty. It looked really, really stupid, and so they didn't even try. But it was like the invisible crowd. It was ridiculous. But anyway, yeah. So speaking of Formula One, we did have some Formula One on the weekend.
Oh yeah,
Pete.
Actually, we had half a Formula One. The first half was fun. The second half was slow.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say you need to elaborate, but yeah.
Yeah.
Pete, what do you think?
Yeah, Stuart's right. But the overtake that Lewis Hamilton pulled on Verstappen was good. It was really spectacular. It was almost Daniel Ricciardo-esque. He overtook him on the outside, but the first half was the better half, and then it was slow. It certainly wasn't as good as last year at Portugal, but yeah.
The funny thing is, I reckon that's right.
Sorry, it was good to see Daniel. Sorry.
Go ahead, Pete. No.
It was good to see Daniel Ricciardo, the way Daniel Ricciardo was going up through the field, so that was good. From 16th to 7th, I think. So that was good. Yep.
Yeah, they should have pulled him in a couple of laps earlier. They just let the tyres go, and he started to fall back. The moment that gap started to open between him and... Actually, it was after he passed Vettel, wasn't it? The gap started to widen, and that's when they should have pulled and the tyres needed changing straight away, but they left him out too many laps. Yeah,
which they've done a bit of. I mean, the strategy hasn't done well. But once again, Lando Norris is proving to be. I mean, he was fourth. He was fifth. And Carlos Sainz doing quite well as well, and Sergio Perez. So there's some interesting. Some interesting racing going on. I was surprised Verstappen's come out and says, I hope we never go back to Portimao again. I think it looks a fantastic circuit. And the first time I'd ever heard about it was actually, not long after it opened. Alan Simonson raced there, and I remember him saying telling me down at Phillip Island. In fact, I think Stuart, you might have even been there on the day that he was talking about it, and he just said. He said, what a track! It's fantastic, and he absolutely loved it. And most people seem to really enjoy it. But Max isn't happy. Max doesn't like it at all, and Max is saying, I don't want to go back there.
I think
it's just before you get too much onto the racing part. Is Max going for the biggest sourest puss in the world award at the moment?
I think so.
Did anyone catch the post-race interview he did when they were interviewing the chat for the top three? I just thought he just lacked some basic, respectful manners. He did. And I reckon he's overtaken Lewis. Lewis has never had the fans to that say to Lewis, he's a bit of a self-entitled or etc. like that, but. I was actually watching their reactions and watching their words and watching their manners, and I actually thought, I had suddenly a new little bit of respect for Lewis, because even though he won, it's like, Lewis, yes, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the fans, everyone coming out, it's tough, etc. like that. And Lewis, congratulations, all that. And Lewis said, yeah, thank you. Good. I thought Lewis is actually giving a little bit back, and Max gets on. Well done, Max. And I was like. Yeah, well, good on you, Max. The guy's just trying to interview you and just going to give something to the fans, and you just don't give two hoots. And where's your manners? Where's your thank you, or where's the congratulations to the other competitors? Well, thank you to them. Anything at all. Just give someone something that you do. It's not all about you and the rest of the world don't just coexist because you need to be the number one head honcho where it is. I thought, oh, you've got a new award, buddy. You need to start pulling your head in and start.
But he's always been like that. I mean, when we went to a couple of years ago, Phil and even we went out to Red Bull had a thing, a presser on in the city and in an avenue. Not an avenue. But anyway, like a place in the city, one of the streets there, so one of the back laneways. That's it, the laneway.
He makes Kimmy look like bloody Mother Teresa. Anyway,
well, he just like I mean, we were and he was he was okay in terms of in talking to the media and. We didn't grab him for an interview, but right next to me I've told the story before that there was a team from a crew from the Comedy Channel who were there, and they were doing sort of what's funny about Formula? What's so funny about Formula One? And they were asking. So they went to Daniel and said, what makes you laugh? Who's your favourite comedian? Do you have a favourite joke, a clean joke that you can tell? And Daniel, of course, being Daniel, got right into it. Suddenly, Daniel walked off and did some interviews, chatted with us, and then Max comes in next night and tells him, and it was like, and Max is. I don't know what there's nothing funny about. No, this is a very, very serious thing. But do you like it? Do you like watching comedy? What makes you laugh? I don't like. No, I'm a very laughing. No, that is no. I will talk about the car. Thank you very much.
It's banned in Max Verstappen's world. That's an outlaw. I'll find myself. I'll lock myself in a round room and trying to find the corner.
But the thing is, I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, it's very much like father, like son. Apparently, Josh was
very intense.
It was also extremely intense, and it's put a lot of pressure on Max over the years as well. It was always expected that Max was going to get into Formula One, and Max was going to be the world champion in Formula One that Josh couldn't be. So, but anyway,
I would just like to just point out one small aside. In a round room, there are two corners. One between the wall and the floor, one between the wall and the ceiling.
Thank you, Stuart. We've made that clear. So you now know that.
Clearly, he did it with a smile and a laugh, though, whereas Max wouldn't be able to crack one. Anyway,
nope.
Boom, boom.
Pete, you were going to say?
He has loosened up a bit this year. Like, in practice, he was getting a vibration, and they said, "Oh, if you need to come in, Max, for a safety because you feel unsafe, then come in." And he said, "No worries. Oh, my teeth are chattering. I can't see anything, but I'll just visit the dentist on Monday." And he's corrected a few things like that throughout late last year and earlier this year.
Oh, well, in my case, I think he could have been a little bit more respectful after the race to the person interviewing him. That was all. Because he is in the whole world's public eye when they interview him So he didn't have to act like a sourpuss as much as he did. For God's sake, man, you got seconds. You can. It's not the world's end. There will be another race. You still got all your fingers and toes. And anyway.
Yeah, well, I think he's he is very determined, but it's true. I mean, of a lot of the form. That's why Dan Ricciardo is such a breath of fresh air in Formula One, because they're not. They do take themselves very, very, very seriously. And the ones that we've interviewed over the years, there've been some nice, but they're very tightly controlled. But as Jenson Button said years ago, I mean, we did an interview with Jenson at the Melbourne Motor Show, and we just did an interview, and it was and at the end of the English cricket team were touring Australia, and they were getting flogged at the time. And I just at the end of it, I said you've got to have a good performance at Albert Park on the weekend, to restore a bit of faith in the English sporting pride. I said, in light of what your cricketers are doing, and it was like, I can't say anything about it. He's looking. He went and he said afterwards. He said, "I can't see." He said, "If I'd have turned around and said, Oh, yes, they're terrible, aren't they? He said that would have been front page news. He said in every, spoilt brat Formula One star,
Bags.
attacks bags our brave cricketing lads, and he said that he said I would have got, he said I just would have been monstered. He said so. I went as soon as he's, so he said we're under a very strict instructions, and that's why Dan is such a breath of fresh air, because I'm sure they give him the very, very strictest of instructions of what he can and what he can't say. And Dan goes, yeah, F you. So,
Well, there's a few of them that are able to tread that fine line and also following team orders, but at least give a little bit of, I suppose, living being to their thing. I mean, as you said, Daniel talks. Fernando's not afraid to say what he says to a certain extent as well, though, too, when the situation comes up and goes, I don't care. What are you going to do? Sack me? And a couple of times it actually has happened. Fernando has been sacked, namely a red team. Could have been Ferrari. Look, Mark was quite liberal with his comments at different times. Jensen didn't mind taking the pee out of Lewis a couple of times. And also, Mr. Rosberg didn't mind telling his teammate or any other person in the whole of the field on what he thought of him. I
must say, I think that Nico Rosberg has been, in terms of his commentary, in terms of his analysis and all that. I think he's been very, very good. He's got a good sense of humour. He's a good communicator. He's only recently stepped out of the Formula One, so he can bring sort of an analysis that it's not somebody going back to the days of like David Coulthard or Martin Brundle or somebody like that. This is a guy who's stepped out, who's actually raced this sort of car, and I think he's won
a championship.
So I think he's I think he's done a really, really good job. As Box is saying, Max had just found out that he lost the point for the fastest lap, and that means a lot to Max. Max is very big on getting the fastest lap, isn't he?
If you can't win, yes, he is. If you can't win, yes.
He was. I'm not. My criticism wasn't because I was disappointed with he exceeded track limits and couldn't understand that, because that was his comment. It was further down the interview when he was just being a sourpuss.
At the end of qualifying, I know which one you're talking about.
No, it was the end of the race. It was the end of the race interview when they interviewed the three winners, 1, 2, 3. His contact, his body language, and his words were disgraceful for someone who is a representative of the sport, and you've still got second place out there. I'm sure he could have interviewed almost every single other person in the field, doesn't matter where they finished in position, and they would have been a lot more complimentary to other drivers, to the people out there watching, to a person that was interviewing him, and also appreciative of everyone that's involved in the sport. Full stop.
The one thing I'll say,
the only thing worse than a poor loser is a bad winner. Sort of showing that.
Spot on, Stuart. Thank you very much for endorsing that.
The only thing I'll
just one note on Nico too for his commentary is Nico doesn't show the English bias that a lot of the commentary has for the English teams or the English drivers. He's a little bit more neutral, and that's good to see.
Yeah, that is I think the big weakness of that Sky F1, and it was and going back to the days even of we all loved Murray and all and James Hunt and all the rest of it, but it became the standard joke, and he's British. It was just it didn't matter what they were doing. It was like he's just finished 7th and he's British. There'll always be an England. It was So I think that he's been very good. And I'd like to see more of him and hear more from him because But let's face it, he doesn't need the money, and I think he just goes in on occasions and keeps his hand in and has a bit of fun.
Also, if you want to see some more comedy, there is comedy in Formula One. Have a look up. I think you might have seen it, Brett. Have a look at Mazepin and the clown pictures. That's quite.
Okay. I haven't seen that one.
You mean the moving roadblock? Oh, that was shocking on the weekend.
Someone's done a picture of of Mazepin at different stages in his career with Formula One, and if you're sitting behind a lit up mirror, lit up mirror, and he's got the first stage of makeup, second stage of makeup to the full blown clown look, and They said that's where he is at Formula One right now. So, yeah, we've been on that. We've been on that horse before.
He's got plenty of money that he doesn't really need to give a damn what any of us think, because Daddy's probably going to buy the Aston Martin team the Haas team by the end of the year. So so it'll be sort of between Lance Stroll in Aston Martin and Mazepin in whatever they end up calling the Haas. The two of them have got seats for life. It doesn't matter.
Or you probably might as well just call it the Mazepin team now.
Well,
Why bother calling it Haas anymore?
That's what's keeping. But that's the thing. That's what's keeping a lot of the teams alive, and it's the same with a whole bunch of things. You see tonight. Like on the show with Josh Buchan, sort of saying that even with the success he's had at such a young age, he's already saying supercars. Yeah, would love to, but perhaps it's a pie in the sky, because my family, we don't have that sort of money. And it's very depressing when you think that there's a kid who's obviously got a bucket load of talent. He's done well in karting. He did well in Formula Ford. He did well in Formula 3. He's now come into TCR, and in his first couple of races, he's done really, really well in TCR as well. And he's already saying I possibly won't make supercars, because
does he really want to pigeonhole himself into that? Get stuck there.
Well, is
he 35 yet? Too, he has to be a certain age to get into supercars, don't you?
The one thing was that he did point out. In the conversation, if you watch it, or if you go back and watch it, and we'll put it up. It'll be up tomorrow night on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. We'll have that. We'll have the interview in full there. He did say that one of the things about TCR, we discussed this, was TCR does give you opportunity for international things as well. And he said he had a really good relationship with Hyundai. That's how he got the gig. He had a good relationship with Hyundai in Australia. He's got a good relationship with Hyundai Motorsport. If you have a look at Hyundai Motorsport International, they tweeted, congratulations to Josh Buchan. So they're aware of what he's doing, and he's already said, if I could possibly get, if I could turn this into a World Touring Car Championship drive or something like that, I'd give that. And that's what TCR can do. Whether the public like in Australia like it or not, because of their V8 obsession, is one thing. This is an international category with a whole bunch of manufacturers involved, and now we've got Toyota have now put up their hand with the new Corolla GR and said, "But yes, we are going to do an official TCR version of it." So, and that's what we've been waiting for the Japanese manufacturers to get involved as well. So you'll have, if Toyota get involved, how long is it going to be before Mazda? Mazda were going to do a car in Mazda America. We're going to do a car for the series over there, but unfortunately that sort of dropped through. But the mock-up of it looked fantastic. The Mazda 3 looked really, really good.
I'll throw a long shot in as well, though, too, with Chaz Mostert's history and with BMW and his contract, and he was doing overseas long endurance races as well, too. I'm sure Chaz has raised a few eyebrows back with his old employers overseas, because, some of it had to do with COVID, why he couldn't race anymore. And, you never know. You might see a little BMW race around as well into TCR. I'm sure there's someone in the background going, well, they're doing it. Every Tom, Dick, and Harriet's doing it. Why don't we get a little BMW running around? And let's just Chaz, because he is dominating the little Audis.
And the thing is, though, as we pointed out in the interview, that Chaz has said Chaz was coming. Chaz was going to do one round basically, just two or three rounds.
Two or three, tentatively.
Because he's got a chance of winning the title, he's saying. But the thing is, he's saying to everybody, and he said this privately to the other drivers like Josh and all the rest of it. He is having so much fun, and as Josh said, he said these are the hardest cars he's ever had to drive. He said, because he said they're just so totally foreign to anything he's raced with the front wheel drive. And everyone says, oh, well, they're only 2 litres, but they're turbocharged. They're putting out around close to 400 horsepower. They're a serious race car. And I mean, and people like Chaz and Lee Holdsworth and all the rest are really relishing the challenge of driving something and trying to master something that's so very different.
Do any of you remember Lee Holdsworth's first interview at the track on the first Telegrass when they put TCR out? They said, Leo, how did you go? You've just jumped out of a V8 supercar, heavy, no downforce, lots of horsepower, but it doesn't really transfer to the ground that much. What's it like jumping out of one of those straight into a little 4-cylinder turbocharged rocket like you just said, Brett? And Lee said, I just about wasn't here today. I've had 2 or 3 drives with the limited time I've had into it. He said, I couldn't get the hang of it. He said, I couldn't hook it up. I couldn't get the tyres warm enough. I didn't know how to, I couldn't get used to the oversteer and understeer. He says, he said, it was just like completely a foreign language. He said, I finally got the gist of it and finally got something out of it. And the last time I drove it with the confidence, now I can come out here today and maybe put the car around the track. But he said, I couldn't get the hang of it. He said, I knew I would eventually. He said, it takes time, but there's such a different beast to drive. And look, if any of you guys have driven a turbocharged front wheel drive car in a 4-cylinder version, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. You can turn the wheel as much as Stuart is right now, but it still keeps going in the direction it wants to go, everywhere except the way you want it to go. So
gear is a wonderful thing.
It's an art.
They can. The thing about them is they're like a high performance car. I drove a couple of a Volkswagen GTI and also the Renault Megane Sport. And the thing is, they let go really quickly. You go, this is handled so well, and as you say, you just push it a little bit and suddenly it's like, whoa, hang on a second.
Where did I just go?
Well, the Volkswagen, I must admit, the Volkswagen, I came as close as I've ever come to having a crash on the road, and that was, I was taking it up the back way, went up through round the back of Corumburra and went sort of round the back way up to Wilson's Prom. And there was one stage there where I very nearly managed to wrap it round a tree. It was a bit close, so I had to. By that point, I went, I'll just ease off. Not my car, and I'll just be very a bit more careful.
Mm-hmm.
Take the screech out of the wheels.
Just one quick question, or one thing that we'll just add in there. Yes, people, that's what he said. You can wind it back and listen later. Also, Doc.
Yeah, mate.
Is that the clown license meme you were talking about?
No, it's like a 3 or 4 stage clown.
Okay. Or what about this one?
I just always
I like that.
That's just as good. That's just as good.
Yeah, I do like that one. I do like that one.
Lovely caption you just dug up there, Stuart. Lovely caption. There it is.
Yep.
That one.
I didn't create it. I'm not to blame.
No, you don't usually put much of a catchphrase down the bottom in your lower third, but that just made up for it all in one week.
Richard is pointing out that he does drive a high performance.
Richard, you are rear wheel drive, Richard. It is
no, he's not. Does he? Because he's in the
Excel. Yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, it can be. Well, so some of them are rear wheel drive, but look, I've got an all wheel drive, as you know, a little red buzz box, and I've got a front wheel drive turbo. I've got all the versions here at my place, and they are a completely different beast. All of them to drive. When they've got high performance behind them as well too. And but as you said, Brett and Stuart, you were having fun with your graphics for yourself there. They are all lots of fun if you keep them within their confines of their capabilities.
I'm just wondering if my toy counts as a high performance. I mean, it's over 200 horsepower and it's nominally a front wheel drive V6. It's just crippled by 2,000 kilos of car.
Lots of metal around it. That's all. Just a great big.
It's only a minivan.
Metal and body roll. That's all.
Oh yeah,
but as Richard says, he's still trying to get his head around it. I mean, and it is very challenging. That's one of the things about XLs. I think it was Michael Clementi, who came on the show at one stage, was saying that the Excels were actually a really good sort of introduction into the TCRs, because a lot of people came out of traditional out of Formula Ford and out of rear wheel drive sedans and all the rest of it, and went into TCR and had a real battle. And he had come out of Excels, even though they're sort of 95 horsepower or whatever they are, compared with the 300 and whatever plus that the TCR cars are. But he said he found it a lot less of a shock to the system as some other people did.
Bit of advice for Richard, because obviously you do it on the track quite regularly. You have hook up with the warm the tyres, etc. like that. Richard, take it up to the Great Dividing Range north of Melbourne and do some rallying in your own time. That's what I have done with one of mine, and you get the hang of it a lot quicker than actually you do. And do it safely on Crown land up in the mountains where you're allowed to take it. And then you'll get the hang of the front wheel drive part. The best place you used to have to go that, and I used to take every time I had a new car, or every time I had a test car, is you'd take it up to VFL Park, into the car park at VFL Park during the week. Because it was all gravel roads. And you take it down the back. Nobody was around. You could throw it in. You could spin it around. You could do whatever you like. And nobody at any stage ever stopped me and said, "By the way, you can't hoon around here." I used to go there all the time. Every time I got a car to test or something, there were a couple of places I would take it straight up to VFL Park, or AFL Park as it became, and take it down the back near the dam and just push it round the dirt there. So the old Batmobile was at Arctic Park today. It was on the news tonight. The old original one back from the 90s. So a conglomerate of the Hawthorn Football Club still own it, and they brought it back for a promotional day today. Oh, they bought it, did they? Yeah, because I know a few people who were putting up their hands, and I know some drivers wanted to get together and possibly get hold of it and perhaps do something a bit crazy with it. But anyway, that was still restored.
Batmobile, are you talking about a movie car or a Walkinshaw Commodore?
No, we're talking about the Angry Anderson Batmobile from the AFL Grand Final,
which is a runner. Oh, okay. And the Walkinshaw, it's called a swimming pool, not a Batmobile, because you can fill it up with about 2,000 litres of water in the boot, and then you can go for a swim in it during summer. So, anyway. But anyway, we must say a huge congratulations to Scotty McLaughlin. I mean, that was a terrific performance in his first ever oval track. Second place to fellow Kiwi Scott Dixon. And he was absolutely delighted. I mean, if you hear him talk at the media conferences afterwards and on the radio, and just on his Facebook page, where he's responded to the tidal wave of congratulations, and it wasn't just doing well on an oval; it was doing well in Texas on that high banked oval. Very daunting for a lot of people, and a lot of American journalists. I've been hearing some stuff there, and they're just going, "Who the hell is this guy, and how good is he?" So, he's already racing at Le Mans now, isn't he? Well, possibly. I mean, that's we've got Roger. That's the other thing that was announced, that Roger Penske and Porsche have come together, and they're going to run. It's going to be called Porsche Penske Motorsport, and they're going to run not PT. Just the LMP, the LMDH DPI2 car in the IMSA North American Sports Car Championship. They're also been put in charge of running the same car in the World Endurance Championship. And of course, that means the Le Mans 24-hour. And Roger has already said, this is the one great race that I'm missing from the collection. This is something I've wanted for so long, and so he's come back, and they will throw everything at this. And if they think that Scott is going to be an important part of that thing because of his road course experience, then it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him pop up there. Yeah, did Scotty Dixon invoke the Australian ANZ treaty and spoil the fun for Scott. But look, wasn't there a throwaway comment also made, or it might have even been Scott himself saying it was like a win for him? Because
he said, as he said, I've never been. There, he upset some of the Americans. He said, I've never been so bloody happy to have finished second
in a race ever.
Yeah, so he was delighted. So it was a great performance. I mean, good strategy, of course, helped a lot, and a bit of good form. But the fact was, he not only got into second, but he not only held second, but he was catching up and he was putting pressure on Scott. And Scott is, of course, the winningest racer in Indy cars at the moment. He's leading the championship. He's a specialist. I think he's won 50% of the races that he's run at Texas Motor Speedway, which is a phenomenal record. So the fact that he did so well, and Scott was obviously really keen for, really happy for. Dixie was really keen for what Scott had done. So a couple of Kiwis. Couple of Kiwis 1 and 2, and of course now they move on to Indianapolis. First of all, for the Indianapolis Grand Prix on the road course, which will happen, and then of course building up to the end of the month and the Indianapolis 500, which is a big one. So there'll be plenty of coverage of that.
How good would it be when?
Hey, just one quick reminder about Texas. Texas is the track that had races cancelled because of the G loadings, with drivers graying out and blacking out. So any win, any performance on that track, that's a big deal.
Good point, MCM. In a Chevy.
In a Chevy. Well, yes, he's racing now, but he could. Yes, that'll be interesting. I mean, this is one of the things that Roger has been very good at. Roger has no brand loyalty to anybody.
Diversification.
He can race Chevys in IndyCar. He can race Fords in NASCAR or supercars in Australia.
Just give me the best.
Incidentally, speaking of supercars in Australia, I don't know if everybody's seen it. The new NASCAR, the Gen 3 car, the artist impressions of that were announced today, and everybody in America is saying, I mean, they're horrified because it's like, it has independent rear suspension. It has a transaxle.
Look at Stuart. Stuart is just keyboarding right up.
Actually, I was just looking at the. I'll go back.
There you go, Brett. You just threw a tennis ball. You just threw a tennis ball to Stuart. Up he goes.
Just a reminder that the IndyCars actually do have their own YouTube channel with some really great coverage there. I'm not going to press play so we don't get in trouble, but they do have highlights and onboard mixes of all the onboard cameras, and it's some pretty good stuff. But let's just have a look. So we're looking for the new
Gen 3 NASCAR.
A Gen 3 NASCAR.
Yeah, and have a look and see if they ring any bells when you have a look at them. Sort of,
While you're looking up that, then we're still just.
Look, Auto Action have got a lovely article.
Talking about don't read it out loud either. That spoils the fun. But if Scotty comes back for the Bathurst 12-hour, Scotty Dixon and Scotty McLaughlin, and it's just building up to a mouth-watering Bathurst 12-hour or Bathurst International or anything we can have back here in Australia when the international guys can come back over here and race again. So the talent we've got here in Australia is just second to none at the moment with drivers. We really do. We're only restricted by, I suppose, our shores, and as Brett, you've always said, the money that can be provided to put these guys up on the podium.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, and speaking of which, shout out and good luck for this weekend to our mate Hugh Barter, who's going to be racing in the next round of the French Formula, the French Formula 4 Championship at Nevers this weekend. It will be on YouTube. The French Federation do have a YouTube channel. Unfortunately, they don't put up the links prior to, so we can't sort of put them up anywhere. It's one of those things where suddenly it just appears. They don't schedule them in advance. It just suddenly appears. But I think it's around 5:00 on Saturday afternoon our time will be qualifying, and then at about 8:00 the first of his races. But it is I'll put it up on online later because I got a press release today from Matt Payne.
Well, that's a good
with
excuse
all
for all our loyal fans to keep an eye on the In-Pit Lane on Facebook for your post, Brett, isn't it? So
and get that
the
also.
notifications.
And also the In-Pit Lane website, because once it does go up, if they put it up early, we'll whack it up onto the website as well, so you'll be able to watch it there as well. Now there's the Stuart's that brought up the thing that's the Camaro. Now apart from the lack of the rear wing, which has got the spoiler on the back. It's got a transaxle. It's got the driver's been moved in a little bit more to the center. It's got a diffuser and an under tray on it. It's got 18-inch wheels with a center lock aluminium wheels. It's absolutely frightened the hell out of a lot of the Americans who are saying
a car that's capable of turning right.
Well, this is the thing now. The interesting thing is
NASCAR.
that,
Okay, so don't get me wrong. I love NASCAR. It's great racing. It's very close racing, but these are going to confuse the heck out of so many of those boys from the South.
Did you meant to say it's very, very close rubbing?
The thing,
that too.
The thing is, a lot of people have said, like in America and all that, my God, I mean, they sound just like Australian supercars. And sure enough, NASCAR have said in an interview with Road and Track, a NASCAR official said, we went to Australia, we studied the supercars, and we have brought a lot of the supercar philosophy back for this. So there's not a huge difference when you have a look. Yes, there are obviously some differences.
I'm listening to one of the test videos, and I won't press play on it, but yeah, that sounds like a V8 supercar.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. They've changed because it's got the under tray on it. They've changed
5.4 litres or something at the moment. Are they?
No, they are. They're still the same motor, still a 6-litre motor, running. But they're going to dial back a little bit of the power. But the fact that it's got like a transaxle and fully independent suspension, and they've said, and also the centre lock wheels. There with the big wheels,
matches
low
a
profile.
Corvette from a decade and a half ago.
Well, most any sort of reasonably modern car of the last 20 years, really. But it's
we've only got uprights left in supercars to finish off before there's not much else modification done.
Well, the interesting thing is supercars Gen 3 to be where they're going is they're meeting together soon because they're still having quite the argument about what supercars are going to look like in the future, and there's a few people who are saying they don't want it to go too far because they're having the argument over should they have paddle shifts, should there be room for future hybrid involvement. That was another thing NASCAR said. The transaxle has been designed so that they can bolt in the future. The possibility does exist for them to put in some sort of hybridization and some sort of electric motor.
Just on the paddle shift thing, one of the biggest arguments that supercars, as far as a conglomerate, is it's just going to say, oh, it's more cost effective, which has been completely proven untrue. So don't use that argument.
But anyway, there's lots to talk about. As you said, something with auto action we got coming up. We'll find out more about it. I'm going to try and find out more about it during the week. See if we can catch up with someone. Auto Action ran plans to basically sort of rejig Formula Ford to try and, Formula 4 was obviously a failure because it was just way too expensive in Australia. Formula Ford has its own issues, and now we have Triple Eight with Roland Dane and also Tony Quinn getting together with Michael Ritter from I believe Sonic to come up with possibly what they're going to call Formula Australia. And geez, I wish I'd have trademarked that because I was looking at doing something like I put a proposal for something to be called Formula Australia about 30 years ago, and I really wish I'd have trademarked it now. But anyway, so they're going to talk Formula Australia, and so we'll try and find out more about that as well as a few players that we know involved in that from what I hear. So we'll see what we can find out. But look, I think that's just about all we've got time for this week. As I said,
you just had the TCR Corolla article there that just popped up as well too, Stuart. Is there any concept pictures have done of that while you're sneaking around the internet, Stuart? Since you do have the technology in front of you to be able to graphic it involved. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's just a current Corolla. So there you go. There's a good example of a little sporting red version of the current series that's out. I'm not sure what's the code for them at the moment. It's they usually have a certain like KE42 or something like that.
It's I don't know. It's the GR version. It's like the GR Arse.
Yeah.
It has the TCR style. It has the TCR style guards on it and all the rest of it. I just realized I was getting confused for a second. I just realized Stuart's still got control of the screen as well. That's why I thought, I went to turn his screen back on and he'd already done it. So
you thought you were sitting in the throne and you were not. You didn't have the scepter, did you? Stuart has the scepter.
Shared power. Hello, he's found something.
Found the Corolla.
Well,
he's found the Corolla. He's found the
Corolla as Prince Philip.
We'll bring it up. You can bring it up. There we are.
So, do get on with it.
There we are. That's
like the wheels.
I don't use it. It looks more like almost like a Pikes Peak car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it needs more plastic on it. It needs more, carbon if it's going to be Pikes Peak. It needs more, lots of flares.
And that's coming up fairly soon. And there we are. Yeah. Melbourne Sports Sedan driver Brett Dickey is competing at Pikes Peak this year. So good luck to him. That's coming up fairly soon as well. Pikes Peak is always an interesting, wild cars. The one thing is, because it's the whole track now is the whole track has been is tarmac now. So the cars that are going up there are getting seriously and I think dangerously fast.
Doesn't make it any more safe though. That is, you drop off the edge of one of those, you are not coming back from that in the next. Let's get the watch out. He's fallen off the cliff. Okay, let's just wait a few minutes. We might wait till he finally hits the ground.
Yep. Yeah, some of those drop-offs are bad. But is anything going to be able to catch the Volkswagen electric?
Well, that's the current record holder there. So that'll be interesting. I know there's a couple of people who are trying to take that title off that car, but that was
not Richard Hammond. We hope.
Let's not hope. Richard and high-speed electric cars do not mix. The only thing could be worse. Imagine if it was a jet-boosted electric car. That would be that would be the end of him.
Wait a minute. Richard Hammond and motorbikes don't go well either. Did you ever see the YouTube video of him when he couldn't get the bike? Anyway, we'll leave it. Look up Richard Hammond YouTube motorbike. Funny.
Wasn't it a Bruff Superior though?
I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it. Whatever it was, he was just.
It's a classic bike. Okay. It's a classic bike.
Okay, I think Russell's winding us up, and I think that's probably a damn good thing too, because we're now gone over the hour, and we start later now, so we'll finish right now after the hour. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us again tonight. Thanks to the panel once again. Remember, if you'd like to join the panel, if you come on every week and you'd like to join the panel, there's room for a few.
Come and hang out.
Yeah, come and hang out with us on. Come and hang out with us on Thursday night. As I said, next week on In Pit Lane on Channel 31, we will hopefully have Joey Mawson, the Australian Gold Star champion, Australian Drivers champion. He will be hopefully joining us next week as well. And of course, all of the news from the weekend, the supercars at the Bend, all that sort of thing as well. So thanks once again to everybody watching. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Thanks, Richard Outram, Richard Catchlove, all the Richards, to Mad Cow Mark and everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll hopefully see. Now, just remember, if you are in Melbourne and you'd like to come up and to see to the Wednesday night, come on down to the Mr. Boogeyman Bar. It's we don't know whether it's going to be our last night in there yet, because a lot of people want to keep it going. We've been having so much fun there. if you watched the last couple of live streams, the band Ozzagun last week and who were on the show tonight were fantastic. Last night's band, they're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel under music. Have a look at the Great Emu War casualties from last night. Fabulous band as well, the Mason Boys. The music has been fantastic. And look, it's all over. It's a nice short night. It's all over by 9:30. Just come on out and, people just go, oh, I don't go see bands. I don't go there. Come on down. It's really easy to get to. Tons of parking. Just come on down and have a great night. Have a great night with us this Wednesday night at the Mr. Boogeyman Bar. And thank you to the Mr. Boogeyman Bar for making it possible for us to record those bands as well. So we will see you. We will see you next week here at Full Course Yellow. And there's Stuart just bringing up some there of last night's act. Also, if you're on the. Yeah, on the Facebook page as well, on the Tune Up Facebook page, and there is a link to a Spotify playlist where we've gone in and we put in some of the music from some of those bands, also some of the bands that we've had and acts we've had in the past, like Mr. Rhythm and Blues, Mr. Black and Blues, sorry, Mr. Black and Blues. And also the Riff Raiders. We'll work our way through and we'll find a few of those as well. Because when you look back, by geez, we have had some seriously good musos on over the years. And I've really been proud of that. So thanks to all the music. Thanks to Leanne Campbell, who's our music producer. She goes out and she finds all these incredible bands and organises it and makes it possible. So thanks to her. And we'll see you next week on Full Course Yellow. And before that, 9:00 on Channel 31 for In Pit Lane. And remember, if you haven't been able to catch up with the Josh Buchan interview from tonight, and also from some music from Ozzagun, we will have that up on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel tomorrow at 6:00 on Friday. That's when I'm sort of uploading the program. Probably without the news, because we still have a bit of copyright issues with some of the stuff with the news. We shouldn't have. It's all legal, but it's YouTube. So anyway, we will catch up with you next week. Until then, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.